Hey guys, I'm Fancy,
And I'm Colleen.
and this is Murder by Design. Hi guys, thank you for tuning in. Tonight we have a special guest. It is Joeseph Fritz. He is a lawyer out of Florida, and he is somehow involved in this whole Tiger King mess and Don Lewis missing. And so, Joseph, could you tell us a little bit about how you got involved in this case and how you knew Don and all of that?
I had somewhere in my career started doing cases regarding animal control, and it kind of morphed into our game and fish at the time regulated who could and could not have an animal by filing an application or permit and showing experience, et cetera, and then morphed even more into USDA. USDA regulates showing of captive wildlife. So I started doing all of that. At the same time, a bank had come to town, and I represented their secured interests, which was mortgages, notes, replevins, foreclosures, evictions, things of that nature. And Don had both the animals and all the financial things going, so I was a perfect fit.
Right.
That's kind of how Don and I hooked up.
And so how long did you know him?
You're not counting the 26 years he's been missing. Probably 10 before that.
Oh, wow. So a long time.
Long time.
Well, sort of a long time. So, and were you the one that happened to proceed over the will and the power of attorney, or did that somehow pop up somewhere else? How did that happen?
I did not do either.
Okay. And is that unusual? I mean, because you were handling pretty much his whole estate, weren't you?
It's unusual in one respect, it's not. It was not unusual at all for them to generate their own papers, wills, notes. I mean, not so much wills, but for instance, notes and mortgages. When they'd finance a piece of property for somebody, or they'd lease a piece of property, they'd generate their own lease. That was pretty common. What's not common is the wording of the power of attorney.
Right.
Yep.
And I don't ever want to talk about the will again, ever.
Yeah, because it's moot, right? It's a moot point. Yeah.
It will never be probated in court because when he was declared dead, he owned nothing.
Right.
Okay.
She used the power. Now, well, we understand she used the power of attorney, right, to move everything, and that was the way she got through that, is because at the time he was still considered alive, so she just used that power of attorney to move everything, right?
Absolutely. But, somebody pointed out once upon a time in a land far, far away, if you were going to do that with the power of attorney, why in the hell would you follow up with a will?
Yeah, it doesn't make sense. What do you think? What are your thoughts on that?
Oh, if he's not found, the power of attorney works. If he is found, the will works.
So covering both ends.
Sure.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's the only answer.
Well, the wording of the power of attorney is just strange, suspicious. I'm dead or missing.
No, well, listen, under roof here at my house, I'll be in my office, we have 100 years of legal experience, 40, 40, and 20. Nancy Grace has another 40.
Right.
Okay. So we're pushing 150 years of legal experience, and we've never seen it or even heard of it or thought of it.
Neither had any of my friends who are lawyers. We work with law enforcement, we work with lawyers, and everyone I have asked, no one has seen anything like that. Now, you've gotten to see the actual documents, right? So,
I have.
we had on, Thomas Vastrick, who was one of the experts that said it was a tracing. But you would be even more knowing of whose handwriting or whose look is it typical of Dawn's writing, or is it typical of what you would think somebody was trying to do Dawn's writing looks like? Or have you seen Carole's writing look like that? I mean, maybe that's a better question.
I don't even care to answer the question like that, but they sat here with a cell phone in my office and laid one signature from the power of attorney on top of the one from the marriage certificate.
Mhm.
There was not one pixel difference, not freaking one.
No.
Jeez.
I mean, it's just, and when you see it, it's an aha moment.
Right.
Yeah.
hmm hmm
So knowing Don, you know, do you think he would ever just vanish, go to, South Central America, disappear off the face of the planet?
I do not. He loved his family
hmm
and he loved these animals, and you wouldn't leave $7 million behind. He was too damn cheap for that.
Yeah, we talked with cold case investigator Cheryl McCollum, and she said in all her years, a man will leave his wife, he will even leave his children, but he does not leave his millions. It's
Yeah,
like,
that's funny.
yeah, because she was like, I've never seen that happen. Like, they don't just up and leave their millions. Like, that's
Well,
not happening.
let me give you a couple examples of how cheap he was.
Sure.
Maybe this will sink in. One day, I stopped at his place. His office was between my home and my office.
Mhm.
So many times I would stay off from I-4, which is a cluster, you know what, and go the back way, which was right by his office, and I'd stop and drop off papers, pick up money, deliver money,
Mhm.
typical things. And one day I went in, and he had a damn T-shirt on that said something like Caterpillar Tractors, something like that. I said,
Mhm.
God, I didn't know that you had anything to do with that. He said, oh, I don't. He said, I stopped and bought it at a yard sale for 50 cents. Man, with that kind of money, paying 50 cents for a T-shirt, really?
Right.
And then he also had a farm, which we don't hear a lot about, but he had goats and
Sure.
stuff like that on it.
hmm
And he used to go to the used bread places, where
hmm
what they do is like Tasty Cake puts bread on in the grocery store.
hmm
And after it gets stale dated, they take it out of there and put it in their half-rate stores.
hmm
And when it doesn't sell there, they throw it in the back.
hmm
You've seen these bread racks, are probably 2 feet by 2
Oh, your audio cut out, Joe.
feet. Hello?
Oh, there it
There
is.
it is. So we got 2 feet by 2 feet, but we didn't get any further.
By
than
10 inches tall, these plastic racks that they put bread in.
that.
Once it was thrown in the back of the store, they could fill up these racks and put them in their trucks, 15 cents a rack. I mean, a thing. So I physically went with Don once to one of these things, watch him. That same van, he had no back seat in. He bought like 30 of these bread things full.
Mhm.
They just threw them in the back of the van, and he paid for them. Then he got back there and he pulled out the cheese crackers. The cheese crackers, the like peanut butter cheese crackers.
Mhm.
He pulled them out of there and put them up front. So what the hell's that for, Don? Well, when we go get animals, that's what we eat when we're on the road.
So
Oh.
he's eating it too.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Used food.
Used food.
Yeah.
He's eating used food. Oh my goodness. Wow.
Does show how he likes a bargain.
Yeah, definitely. Now, did
Well,
you know
yeah, he
him?
liked to bargain, but I've got money too, but I'm not that damn cheap.
Not
Yeah.
that damn cheap, right? Now,
And
did you know him?
I was raised very, 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 very poor.
Mhm.
And even my dad wasn't that damn cheap.
Right. Well, that's like so my mother-in-law's from the South. I'm not from the South. I just happen to live here now. And she made her first bowl of chili that I'd ever seen her make. She put spaghetti noodles in it. And I was like, why are there spaghetti noodles in the chili? I don't understand. And she goes, well, what you don't know is that when you grow up really, really poor here in the South, you have to make things, stretch across, right? And so the spaghetti it gives the substance to the chili and it stretches it further. I was like, oh my God, who wants to eat it like this? She goes, nobody, but we do and now that's the way we all eat it because that's the way they're, accustomed. And
You'll eat it now.
so-
It's called Skyline chili.
Right. I was like, oh my goodness, I've never seen that before, but that was her,
Yeah.
same thing. But yeah, no, never that cheap as to, use used food. Good Lord. Now, did you know Don before he married Carole or only after?
Just at the cusp, right there at the, I don't think they may have, I can't put that together in my head, but she was not there for a while. And then the next thing you know, the first time I went to play with the cat, she was there.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And what was their relationship like? I mean, I know you were more than just a lawyer, you were a friend as well. So, what was their relationship like?
I never had a cup of coffee with them. I never ate dinner with them. I never did any of that, but they seemed cordial and like they were getting along
Mm-hmm.
when I knew it.
Mm-hmm. Did she strike you as odd or weird?
Did she strike me as odd?
Did she strike you as odd? Yeah.
Both of them did.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess if for all of everybody who's watched Tiger King, everybody involved in the whole thing, pretty weird. Pretty weird.
I understand one thing. The difference between weird and eccentric is $1 million.
Yes, exactly. When you have that kind of money, you get to be a little eccentric, like you said.
Well, I think Don was a little off. People ask me to describe him. If he were here today, I'd say that he'd have a personality most like a peacenik hippie.
Okay.
Calm and reserved and peaceful and friendly and want to sing Kumbaya.
Right.
He probably came that way. I've always thought, he was a pilot. And he had his license revoked. I guess you know that.
Mm-hmm.
He had his license revoked for some pretty bad wrecks, including flying through a power line. And I thought he took some pretty good knocks on the head during that time frame. And I think I've many times in court seen people's personalities altered when they get hit.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
And I can't imagine that he wasn't hit in the head pretty good for the FAA to revoke his license.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I would think so. So when all this went down, when he went missing, what were your first thoughts? I mean, what have you always thought something isn't right here, or did it take you some time to get to that realization? Or
it took a while. It took a damn while because he would go on, to Costa Rica. Of course, I know why he went to Costa Rica too, but first of all, he was avoiding taxes. But second of all, if you haven't figured it out, the ownership of these exotic animals, showing to them is a highly, highly, highly regulated thing here. Yeah. For instance, to own a cougar, you have to have 1,000 hours of experience with. That's a half a year. Yeah. And it's pretty damn regulated. In Costa Rica, there's no regulation at all.
Right.
And my favorite animal, that I played with was an ocelot. And ocelot is a South American cat. Her name was Nirvana, and she's the sweetest thing in the world. But where the hell else you going to buy an ocelot except South America, aka Costa Rica? Now he had business, he had whatever he had there, but the point of the matter was, I thought he was going back and forth there. This kid's going back and forth. Another hot spot was Michigan. There was a lot of cubs being bought in Michigan too. I remember. Like you see on Tiger King, the first set of animals over at Wildlife on Easy Street, which morphed into Wildcat Rescue, cost $94,000. Let me make a point, please. You don't pay for rescue animals.
Right.
Okay? It's a damn private zoo, just like Joe Exotic had.
Exactly. So hypocritical she is. Oh, my goodness. That woman.
I believe that Joe's zoo was more adept for big cats than hers, but that's a whole another conversation about animal rights.
Right. So he was going down to Costa Rica to do this and bring the cats back and things like that. And so funny you bring up ocelots. My daughter was obsessed with ocelots from like the age of 6 to 10 every day. I mean, Mom, can I buy an ocelot? I'm like, where the hell would you get one, Abigail? I have no idea where anyone would even, well, you can. I'm like, okay, well, that's fantastic. But I have no idea where to get you one. And I wouldn't know what to do with it. So we did that for like 4 years, but and she finally grew out of it. Thank God.
Two I've met that have really got to me. Was one is the ocelot and the other one was a baby otter, the most luxurious, beautiful little thing you've ever seen, lay upside down in your head. and eat
Mm-hmm.
a chicken gizzard. Just chew on chicken gizzard.
Oh,
The most beautiful thing in the world.
It was
Yeah.
so funny yesterday. It showed up on Franklin News. I'm in Wisconsin. There was a kangaroo loose in the street. Somebody's zoo, like,
Yeah.
lost a kangaroo. Wow.
lost a kangaroo here up in Wisconsin. We're like, who the has? And somebody was like, oh, I've seen it, I guess, a couple times, but I always thought it was a big rabbit. And it's like, it's a kangaroo. It's a
Big
full-on kangaroo. Just hopping
Oh, my
down the
goodness.
flipping street.
Well, here I had a case with a zebra that got loose on Riverview Drive.
Oh,
The
my
sheriffs are
goodness.
trying to chase it back in its paddock. It won't work. So they got 2 helicopters trying to run it back, and it wouldn't work. So they went to the local zoo with one of the helicopters, picked up a vet with a tranquilizer gun, and knocked it down in the middle of the road. So now they got a black and white striped horse down the middle of the road. My damn client comes out with a freaking front end loader and picks him up into a scoop of the bucket and takes it back to the barn.
Oh, my God. Oh, my
Well,
God.
it's like the one guy in the Tiger King show who's just riding his elephant down to the river. Like,
Yeah.
what?
What is
I just
going
don't
on
know how I respond to somebody who.
Well, you
Yeah.
know, I went to, when it was Wildlife on Easy Street,
here? Mhm.
they had a lion tamer's cage. It was the round, the thing with the safety exits and the whole bullshit, the
Right.
safety.
Sure.
I went in there with my son. My son got bit, they grabbed his hair, the damn leopards did. And we managed, I got bit, but we managed to get the hell to a safety cage to get out. But, I learned something that day that I'll never forget. And there's something about the truth. You know it when you've heard it. Lion tamer cages are always round. So a cat can't catch you in the corner.
Right.
So I learned.
Mhm.
And that applies to life.
Yeah.
Especially in this case, I would think, so he was going back and forth doing that. And do you think there's even a possibility? Could there be a possibility that he got in some trouble down there and just didn't come back?
No, but we did have a chat with the homicide detective here in Tampa early this week. I think it was Monday, and he basically blurted out that he had a federal report he had to disprove that he was alive and well in Costa Rica.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, it's that law. It's relatively easy to prove something happened. It's terrible to prove something didn't happen.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And it's all about that burden of proof, So let's talk a little about, you said the power of attorney. So let's talk a little bit about it. You said you'd never seen anything like it in the wording, and I'm assuming that you're referring specifically to upon my disappearance or death. Yes, is that what you're talking about, or is there other things inside of this?
No, absolutely.
Attorney.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, that's what I'm talking about.
Right. I just want to make sure there wasn't anything else in there that was even weirder, or as weirder. And did you?
Yeah, well, it's a forged signature. That's pretty weird.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. So how was she able to do this at that time? Did she have to go through another lawyer to do it? How did it go down that she was able to move everything at the time that this happened?
First of all, understand one thing.
Mm-hmm.
She did a lot of transfers of lots of property with that power of attorney.
Mm-hmm.
So in essence, she is saying that the signature, there's 2 signatures, Don Lewis and Carole Lewis. She's absolutely saying that that's her signature because she moved $7 million worth of property based upon it.
Right.
Yeah.
So there's no doubt she can't back up from that's my signature.
Mm-hmm.
The question about is what's the deal on Don's signature?
Yes.
Mhm.
And when I see one on top of the other, there's no
No difference.
there's now I think 4 or 6 handwriting experts that tell us what it is,
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
including, I'm not going to say who it was, but one of the people involved in this,
Mm-hmm.
they spent money. They got the handwriting expert on the Ted Kaczynski, the Unabomber case.
Oh wow.
Oh wow, you go right to the top of that one.
Right.
Yeah.
And he says 2 things. First of all, that it's a forgery, that it's a tracing.
Yep.
He also says that and I have not seen the report, but this is what I've been told. Whoever signed Carole Lewis also signed Don Lewis. Carole said, "That's my signature. That's my signature because I $7 million worth of property with it."
Right. Right.
What's the conclusion of that?
I mean, yeah. So that's a thin line there, right? So.
So anyway,
Well, anyway, so so what do we do? So obviously the statute of limitation has run out on this forgery, if that's the
absolutely.
case. Does the family have any rights at this point to be able to contest it and maybe sue Carole for what they should have been given?
No,
No.
because it's got a 5-year statute of limitations on civil too.
Jeez, this is
So
so
the
sad.
so the only thing that doesn't have the statute of limitations is his murder.
His death.
Murder.
Yeah.
I mean, I think everybody, has different, how did she do it? What do you think happened?
Well, what I heard at the time and what I repeated to the sheriff's department, they say they've heard it too. I heard that he drove his van up the Pilot Country Estates, which is probably 25, 30 miles north of Tampa.
Mm-hmm.
They have a fly-in place where everybody has a home and a thing to put their plane in, and runways.
A hangar, right? Yeah.
And I had understood that he got lured up there for a good deal on an airplane. That it's an unregulated airport, which means there's no control tower, there's no squawking, there's no pinging, there's no nothing, there's certain things you do with unregulated and regulated airports. If this is unregulated, nobody keeps track of takeoffs, nobody keeps track of landing, nobody keeps track of anything. It's not unusual at all to hear a plane winding up and get ready to go. It's not unusual to see one landing. Anyway, he went up there. I'm told that, this is 26 years later. I don't even remember where the hell I heard it, but I heard it twice.
Right.
But he went up there for a good deal on an airplane because he would buy and sell airplanes. That they took it for a test ride, that they took it 50 feet over the Gulf, and that he was strangled with an electric cord from the back seat and thrown out 50 feet over the Gulf.
Wow.
Our Sheriff Chronister says he's convinced that there was more than one person involved in it. I am too. That's what I've heard. I know that when he flew low because he didn't have a license. And he didn't want to ping. He didn't want a transponder on. He didn't want to give his tail numbers. He didn't want to file flight plans. He didn't want to be perceived in the air. And he would stay 50 feet up. Once you're in the air from any of the airports in my Tampa area, once you're up, you're released and you turn over to Jacksonville Approach. Jacksonville Approach, you would never talk to, I'm told. I never flew with him. He would never give tail numbers. He would never do a damn thing. He'd stay 50 feet to stay off the radar.
I mean, that makes sense.
Wow. Yeah. So do you think that's more likely than her feeding him to a tiger?
Absolutely. He did not feed him to the tiger. I've seen the damn machine. You know what the machines were there for, and a lot. I represented people that had 131 animals at one time.
Sure.
What was pretty popular, they had certain types of foods that they would feed them, but one of the primary things that they would get is they would go to the chicken outlets. Many of our chicken outlets, like Bojangles and KFC and this and that, they never freeze chicken. They never serve frozen chicken. Okay, never. At the end of the day, what's left over was wholesaled out the back door the next morning. Okay, in case you didn't know that.
Okay.
They would get these 40-pound crates of chicken, which about the same size as one of those bread things. Okay, but they were cardboard. But they'd get 40-pound things of that, and they would put that through those grinders so that they would get some of the bone meal that the cats needed in their food. But it was sufficient to do a chicken leg, but not a damn skull.
Right. I mean, definitely I can see how, a human body, it's a tough thing,
Ain't gonna happen.
Right.
It ain't gonna happen.
No, I mean, you'd have to cut it up in such minuscule pieces. Like, it can't just be like you cut half an arm off and do it. Yeah. Right. So where do you think that rumor even started? Just people being weird?
Yes.
Yeah.
The output of the thing was probably not much bigger than a coffee cup diameter.
Oh, geez. Yeah, I can understand. Well, so we just, I thank you for being on with us today. Is there anything else in this case that you think is important for everyone to know? Where do you think this is headed? Do you think they may be able to finally solve this? Do you think there'll be justice served at all for Dawn?
I've been asked that a million different ways, and here's my answer all the time. It's going to take somebody stubbing their toe and needing a get out of jail free card.
Mm-hmm.
And it may or may not come.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Whoever these people are not nice people. Okay.
Right.
One of them is
Right.
going to screw up one day, one time.
Mm-hmm.
And they're going to, our sheriff has already said, please come forward. All deals are on the table. I've
Right.
heard him say that.
Yeah. Yeah.
I will, in the process of this, Ann McQueen, the office manager,
Mm-hmm.
I have to mention this because it's so unique to me because of what I've done for 40 years.
Yeah.
Sometime before his death, not the day before or the month before, maybe the year before, something of that nature, Don bought $1.2 million life policy on himself. I don't know that you've even heard about that.
No.
He bought $1.2 million life policy and made Ann McQueen the sole beneficiary and owner of the policy. The point was that there was to be a trust formed that was going to be the beneficiary of the life policy.
Mm-hmm.
And that they were going to divvy up who got what under the terms of the trust.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
But when he disappeared and when he was declared dead, the trust had never been done. So Ann McQueen could have walked down the street with $1.2 million plus 5 years of interest. But he had given her a handwritten note one day of how he wanted things divvied up in the trust when they set it up.
Mm-hmm.
I want you to know that's exactly the way the woman wrote those checks. Gave away over $1 million damn. She didn't have to. I don't know whether you heard that. So now if you need to know who's telling the truth and who ain't,
Right.
Wow. Wow. That's crazy. That is
That's crazy. Yep.
And she's the one who witnessed the power of attorney that has recanted, correct? That's her. She recanted her story and said that is not his. Is she not the one? I thought she was the one.
No. That was other people that recanted that said that no. Ann McQueen was named the power of attorney on the ones who was stolen out of the office after the disappearance.
Yeah.
Oh,
after the disappearance, they broke into the office and got. That was his office manager for 20, 30 years.
Right.
Okay. She's still a client, friend, pal, buddy of mine, to this day.
Mm-hmm.
So, but if you want to know who's telling the truth, there's somebody that gave away $1.2 million because they knew they were doing the right thing.
Yeah. I mean,
Right.
that says a lot.
Yeah.
What else can you say?
Right.
What else
It says
can you
everything.
say? Nothing.
You can't. Nothing.
I mean, you say there goes an honest woman.
Yeah.
If she says something, she's telling you the truth.
Well, and
Right.
there's so many fishy things regarding the whole thing, Carole writing in a diary, claiming, dementia for extended
That's
period
another
of
thing. Let's talk
time.
about that.
Yeah.
It wasn't dementia. I think it was, but there was something a little off about Don. And I think it had to do with those plane crashes. I think it was a closed head injury. Closed head injury.
Mm-hmm.
He's a little bit off on, but did he know a deal? Did he know money? Did he know what he's doing? Was he oriented times time, place, date? Hell yes, he was. Son of a bitch is making money hand over freaking fist.
Right.
He started in junking that he did appliances, but old appliances. He'd make them work again and sell them and this and that. And then he got rich off the piggyback stuff for the railroad. They had a piggyback and they put all new crates on the piggybacks. They used the same foundation or whatever you want to call it. But they put new boxes on them. And he took all the old boxes and converted them into selling them or leasing them for these storage trailers at construction sites. That was kind of his big hit. But he made hits and hits and hits and hits and hits. Also, Carole told some wild stories. I read her rebuttal to Tiger King. I know who's telling. I don't know that she or anybody else is involved in this as a murderer. I don't know that.
Right.
But I know who's telling the truth and who isn't. She ain't telling the truth.
Sure.
Well, yeah, you can look at the woman and know she's not telling the truth. There's a really super creepy giggle, smile, and
Oh, another thing. Have you seen the thing that's done by the body language experts? Oh my God, you could be there. The super giggles and how she would purse her lips, purse her lips, and when I saw that special on that and saw what they were doing, the guy had her by the yin yang. I mean, no doubt about it.
Right. I mean, she's one of the world's worst liars. I think possibly that has willingly gone on camera to talk about something that's suspicious. And I think her current husband's a weirdo.
Let me point out something else that she told law enforcement, I think it was, that is just crazy. Forgive me, but she told law enforcement that Don needed sex every day of his life.
Oh, geez.
And when she hit her period is when he would take off and go to Costa Rica and screw around with his girlfriend down there.
Right.
Let me guarantee you no woman in America would put up with that shit.
100%. We agree.
Well, I don't know. Some women, the money talks. So, but not all the time. Like not that way. No.
Every day.
Every day.
In any court I've ever seen, I've seen people get a knock on the head and go off course sexually. So that plays into what I think happened as well. That's why I think he was eccentric, but he sure as hell had no dementia or Alzheimer's. And he sure as hell knew what the hell he was doing. His time, date, and place oriented everything.
Right, like he wasn't just going to wander down the street and not know where he was anymore.
Absolutely not.
Right. And so you said you think that there was at least a second person involved, and that others do too. Do you have an idea of who that might be? I mean, do you think?
Maybe
suspicions.
Let me make a comment. I'm 71 and a half years old. There's no reset button on my life. I'm not poor. I'm not married. I can't hide behind joint property. Carol Lewis spent $2.5 million in legal fees for the damn patent or trademark infringement with Joe Exotic.
Yes.
She gets 16 acres of rural Oklahoma land for $2.5 million.
Right.
That's the biggest grudge match I've ever seen. If you expect me to get on national anything, say who did or who I suspect, I damn sure know better, and I know how to take my own advice.
Absolutely.
And she seems to have no issue screwing people over.
Yeah, definitely. Well, Mr. Fritz, we thank you so very much for joining us today. It was a pleasure. If there's anything else you think of in the future, just let us know, and we'll be glad to.
I don't know how the hell to, why don't you circle back in 30 days?
Yeah.
I'm not going to call you, but circle back because things keep popping.
Yes.
I understand that there's a big article getting ready to come out in our newspaper. They pulled to hold the press. They got new information. So I don't know what it is yet. The last I heard, I was dealing with Corporal Garcia, the homicide detective. Let me guarantee you, when you deal with a homicide detective, information is a one-way street. You give it to them, they don't give you anything. Okay?
Right.
Well, so do you think? Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead. I'm listening.
No, go ahead. You were saying.
You were saying something.
I said it's a one-way street, but the one thing I did learn from him last time I saw him this week was that there's some kind of federal report that he was having to look at about him alive and well in Costa Rica, which I think is pure blarney. But
right.
You gotta disprove everything they can.
Well, I mean, that's the thing. You have to, you got to look at everything when you're investigating. You gotta look at every angle, everything. Rule out any story. Just like the meat cleaver, or the meat grinder. They had to disprove that. That there's no way that could happen. I mean, as absurd as it is.
They really, I could really put together a conspiracy theory on this one if I tried.
Mhm.
I
Really?
wouldn't have to try very damn hard.
Right?
Because it was obvious that I knew quite a bit at the time, who, what, where, how, the other stuff.
Sure.
Mhm.
But why did it take our sheriff's department 26 years to interview me?
Right.
Mm.
Right. So they never talked to you the first time around.
Hell no. Not until maybe the week or two after Tiger King.
Wow, that's pretty
They asked me,
interesting.
one of the outlets asked me what I thought of our sheriff's investigation.
Yes.
I told them I've seen Walmart security do a better job of a kid copying a CD.
Now, to be fair though, that was not Chronister back in the day. So
Was not.
right. Okay. So just
But when he raised his hand and said, "I'm sheriff," he's sheriff all the cold cases too, and it's
Right.
still another 3 years to interview me.
Yeah.
Right.
So do you think that Tiger King allowed to get some new light shed onto, Don Lewis's?
Oh hell, no damn doubt in my mind. No doubt in my mind. It'd be closed as closed. And by the way, this is an election year, and by the way, he has opposition. And by the way, you didn't want to look like a jerk in front of the world.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's kind of great timing, really.
Yeah. I think that I don't think there are so many missing people around the country, around the world, that I don't think anybody really would have known anything about Don Lewis if it wasn't for Joe Exotic pitching a fit about it and putting
Right.
it all on his
Yeah.
stuff, and then Joe being so interesting and wild that
No,
his stuff gets told.
well,
I don't know how these people, I've wondered how, when Joe Exotic hires somebody to kill her, he happens to get a detective or whatever the hell, undercover. But we had a woman here in Tampa win the Canadian lottery. And it was a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
The first damn thing she did is get $5,000 and go hire somebody to kill her husband so she'd have both halves of the money. And she happened to hire an undercover sheriff's detective to kill her husband.
Jeez. Wow. Well, I've always wondered how that
So-
even goes down. Like, how does one find a person to kill another person? Like, a contract for hire kind of thing. Like, how does that even happen? Like, is there like a ad that you're responding to? Like, is there
Like a back page on
their back page on
Craigslist?
Craigslist? It's like, hey, murders are us. Like, I've always wondered.
Yeah.
I thought that was,
I don't know, but how the hell they keep getting so unlucky?
yeah, right.
Well,
Is there-
Carol's the one getting lucky here.
Well, she did. Do you think she had any idea this was gonna blow up like this? I don't think she did. 'Cause she
No,
wouldn't have
oh
done
hell
it.
no.
She thought she was in the clear. Yeah, I think so.
Oh yeah.
When it all went, when things were happening and Joe Exotic was doing this stuff years ago, did just everybody chalk it up to him being a nut?
I don't know. The other theory I heard was that her father had dug for a septic tank
Oh, yep.
and then filled back in. You heard that?
Yep.
I had one of the big media people here in my office flat ass told me they agreed to dig up the septic tank and to pay for putting a new one in. And she was this and that. And then finally, when she was going to be taking them up, she recanted and said, no, you can't do it. But she was going to let them dig it up, but she wanted a $15,000 bond with the title company and blah, 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 blah. And they weren't just going to dig it up and leave it. And so anyway, they said, okay, we'll do it. And she backed down.
Well, maybe Chronister needs to get a warrant to dig.
Well, you got to be, unless it's a FISA warrant, you need actual facts.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like and that's why it took so long on this. We've been following the Chad Daybell, Lori Vallow case. I don't know if you've been following that.
No.
Well, it's a case of 2 missing children out of Idaho. Idaho, right? Colleen, I'm right in that.
Yeah.
There's so many different places, but I think the children are missing from Idaho. Yeah. It spans across different states, but they've been missing since September of last year, and nobody had seen them. And they just now, she's been sitting in jail for maybe, 3-4 months now. They caught her in the beginning of all this COVID crap. And, she's not said a damn thing, won't say anything. And they finally, in her her husband has been out walking around for forever, and he's not the father of these children, but they just now were able to dig on the property this, this
Oh, yeah, they did find, it was Idaho, and they did find remains. I did
Yes, they
read
Yep,
found the
two
two
children's remains.
names, and they have
Yeah.
confirmed, the family has
Shit.
confirmed that it's the children. But it took forever, like to get that
Yep.
that dig, for them to be able to do that. It took a long time, or at least people
It
think it
does.
did. I don't think it took a long time personally in an investigation to get there. Like you said, there has to be evidence that you can prove as why you're digging. You can't just randomly go dig in people's yards, so yeah.
You have to get probable cause.
Yeah,
Yep.
you have to have, and you have to know where you're going. Yeah, so you can't just randomly dig up things. So, but thank you, Mr. Fritz. We will go ahead and circle back around with you in 30 days and see where we're
Okay.
at with all of this. Okay.
Good
Have a
seeing you.
wonderful day. Thank you so much for coming on.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Oh my God, that was enlightening. Actually,
That was really good.
that was really good. He said some things I had not heard.
Yeah, that was good.
That was good. That airplane theory is. I bet money on that one. Like, I think that's
Yeah.
really.
I think it's more likely that it was the airplane, because then no evidence, no trace.
Evidence. Exactly.
Because if he's buried in a septic tank in their house, if they dig, they're fucked. If I don't believe the meat grinder, but if it was a meat grinder, there'd be blood and evidence and
somebody would have seen.
bones.
Somebody would have seen. There's no way she could have done that, because that would have taken hours and hours and hours to do with a body. First, killing him. Second, then cutting him up, and that takes a long ass time. You don't just cut a body up in a minute,
Right, especially when the hole's this big.
It's big, right. Even if you got a big one, you're like, okay, it's this big, like we have bigger ones at the restaurant that I've, worked at. We've always had bigger ones, but still, even then, like, you're still talking about, like, you can't cut an arm, okay, so you're thinking cut the arm in half and then I feed half and half. No, it's not like that. You would have to be like, okay, so let's gonna cut this finger off, and then we're gonna cut this finger off.
Right, because the joints are strong. Like, one of our friends who, we had one really interesting conversation. We just got like, if you were gonna kill somebody, how would you do it and try to get away with it?
Right.
He's got both of them have farm friends and
feed them to a pig.
Well, so they have a full-on grinder that's used for recycling appliances. It's massive.
Sure.
And put them through it. Literally, it would just be shreds.
Mm-hmm.
And to take those shreds, and there are acres and acres and acres of property,
mm-hmm.
and sprinkle, fertilize across the property.
Yeah.
And wouldn't even know.
Wouldn't even know. You're right. Right.
That's how, like, you need a grinder, wood chipper, for that. And then even with the wood chipper, like, obviously it sprays, it's a mess. Like, so it still is going to take time and planning and careful cleaning and sanitation to be able to leave the no evidence. So
mm-hmm.
I think the airplane is such a logical.
She would have had to Dexter up the whole freaking thing, have a kill room with the cheating everywhere, and how do how does she kill him? Like, okay, so there's one thing is feeding him to the tiger. The other thing is how did she kill him that way? Like, really? Like, did she poison him? I mean, like,
or if she poisons him and the tiger eats his poison, I mean, then
right, then the tiger is dead. Right. So, I mean, there's just too many things in that, I mean, it's funny. It's funny because of what they are, and
right. It's comical.
It's comical that this is what the floating, like, and that, theory is, but geez, come on, really?
Right. It's more likely, like, he likes a bargain. He likes a deal. Mm-hmm. He has bought and sold airplanes.
Absolutely.
He's flying below 50 feet to avoid radar. Mm-hmm. So that, he thinks he's going to get a deal, but I better test drive this because I'm not going to pay for a crappy airplane.
Right.
You go up with somebody else, because you're not just going to go individually, and potentially even go up with two people, depending on how big that plane was. Because then, somebody else, I feel, had to have been driving the plane, and then Don in the passenger seat, and then somebody, sitting in a back seat so that way they could come from behind him and strangle him. Because if Don was driving the plane and you go strangle him, then the plane is going down.
Well, here's the thing. Like, it's Carole is nothing but resourceful. Let's just say that.
Yeah.
And she had, as well, Joe and her both have extremely, extremely shady people around them all the time. I mean, this whole feud didn't go on for years and years and years because they were just normal, decent people. Like, this was weird. And I think it's strange. Like, I thought about it of Joe is out there, he's standing out there in a rabbit suit and he's got blood all over him, and he's got a sign that says Carole Baskins killed her husband. Like, why is no one thinking, like, you would think that there would still be some amount of, in that, but it took, like Joeseph said today, they didn't interview him for 23 years. Like,
yeah.
There's something wrong there. There are some things.
That is right, especially when, a rich white guy goes missing.
Right?
Somebody's talking to anybody involved, especially the lawyer.
Yeah. Yeah. It's crazy.
Like, I like that he's like, yeah, the signature, I saw it. It's bullshit.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. And I like how he didn't totally name drop, but he sort of name dropped the Unabomber case. Like, yeah, that was a good interview. I think he's hilarious. Like, no woman's doing it every day willingly, just every day.
Right. Well, I was thinking, when he said that and he was saying no woman would put up with that. I was thinking he was saying no woman would put up with him, catting around and going down to Puerto Rico or Costa Rica. But then now, like you're saying, thinking about the fact that he wanted sex every day, like, no married woman is having sex every day unless she's in the first, 2-3 years of her marriage, maybe, and that's.
Well, right. Or trying to get pregnant. Like, that's it.
That's it.
And
otherwise headaches come up way too often,
Right. Oh, just a headache. But both rights, like, doing it every day, but then also, right, every 3 weeks he would go down to Costa Rica to be with his girlfriend because I was on my period. And it's not like Carole's an attractive woman, like.
And who tells that to law enforcement, like, in that way? Like, what?
Right. Yeah, weirdo.
She's so strange. She's so weird. She's super weird.
Right. I like how that, the body expert. She's a telltale liar. She can't hide it for shit. She doesn't have a poker face. No, smiles, giggles, jokes.
Tells for days, man.
I would have put sardine oil on his shoes.
Right?
Like, you weirdo? Like,
weirdo.
Wait.
But then, I think about that. Okay, so here is a thing. I mean, her saying that is probably what sparked everybody thinking she fed him to a tiger, right? I'm serious, Okay, but, they tell you were talking about farms and how you would kill somebody and everything. And I've always heard that, a pig, like a couple of pigs can run through an entire body, bones, everything within just a little bit of time. So if you think about a pig being able to do that, could she have just thrown his body into the cage and the tigers just ate him up? Like,
well, I definitely think that can happen. Like, I was gonna kind of bring it up. It definitely could happen. I think one of the issues, though, is with her tigers, in terms of cage sizes, I don't think Don was going to get into a cage with an adult tiger that's big enough that, like, they both would be able to fit in comfortably. I don't think they have that size cage.
Well, no, what I'm thinking is killing him off-site, maybe in another room somewhere or whatever, and not her doing it, maybe somebody else strangling him, whatever, and then picking up the dead body, taking it to a cage and throwing it in for meat.
I mean, yes, but I think there'd still be human DNA evidence in the cage. It's somewhere.
Well,
like, and there have been, like, there's the Picton farm murders. And then there was the most tragic case, and unfortunately, it will always haunt me, is the case where like it was like a 5 or 6 or 7-year-old little boy was abused horribly by his stepdad and mom, and like they had cameras in every single
Yes.
wood, and
Oh,
then
God.
once he died, they threw him into the pig pen and fed him to the pigs, and it's like,
Oh.
you disgusting human beings. That is a child. That is your child. How dare you desecrate that poor little boy?
It's one of the reasons why we haven't covered that case, because that case is just heartbreaking for me.
It is heartbreaking. Those
it's
severe
even worse.
child abuse cases are horrible.
It's even worse than the Gabriel Fernandez case,
Yeah.
which was oh so terrible, like just unbelievably shocking and hard to even stomach as a human being, you know, just unbelievable what they did to that kid. But then the other things that little boy that you're talking about, some of the things, oh my God, I've seen pictures that would just make you lose your lunch, you know. I mean,
right, there are pictures, video cameras for hours, just hours.
And I just don't understand that. Like, okay, you kill your kid, you know, it's one thing. Like, I don't know if it's a quick death, like with like Susan Smith, where they, you know, she drives the car into the, you know, the embankment and they drown. Okay, that's one thing. Even like even
a fit
if
of
you're
rage kind of thing.
yeah, in a fit of rage, or even with Lacey Spears with doing what she did to, you know, Garnett, you know, okay, that wasn't this. Like, to torture a child for months, years, whatever. What? Why are you kid? Why?
Right, if you don't want, like, to me, I'll never understand, you know, these severe torture cases. If you don't want your child, if they're a burden to you, you hate them for some unknown fucking reason, leave them somewhere.
Yeah.
Take them to a police station, take them to a firehouse, just even leave them on the side of a street.
Right.
Somebody will find them. Somebody will figure it out. You know, don't
take them and say, I can't do this anymore. I can't do this.
I don't want to harm my kid. I
can't do this. Here it is. But I mean,
to torture them for years and months in such brutal and humiliating fashion.
Yes.
And then, you know, after your kid is dead, like with Gabriel, like at least, you know, called 911 in the hospital, but just be like, yep, okay, my kid's dead. Throw him into the pig pen.
Pig pen. Yeah.
Like, how the fuck? What is wrong with you?
Right.
That's and to me, like, you know, strangers, you know, having a kid, whatever, but your own flesh and blood. Like, what?
I don't know. As a mom, it boggles my mind.
No, it boggles my mind. Ever since that story first came out, and I don't think it gets enough, you know, attention, but I think it's because it's so horrific. But it's always has been one of those worst gruesome cases.
Yeah.
I mean, right, pigs, their stomach is so acidic they can digest anything.
Jesus. Okay, well, thank you guys for tuning in again and listening to us talk about Tiger King. This is a series of interviews that we've done since the breaking news of Don Lewis's disappearance and the cold case being reopened. We have some updates from Cheryl McCollum. We have some updates from the handwriting expert, Thomas Vastrick, and now you've heard from Joeseph Fritz, one of the attorneys. And we also did I think it was a 4-part on our podcast, The Good Wives Guide to True Crime, before the cold case was opened, right after Tiger King came out. So we talk a lot about the whole story, but we did interviews with Stephen David Lampley and also Cheryl McCollum, who, you know, were looking into it at the time. So we've got a lot of information on this case, so you should follow us all over the place and listen. And, you know, we're going to start talking about a lot of more of the current cases. I think you're going to see. So we're going to be doing some more live stuff I'm really excited about that. We're going to be working into some live stuff here on YouTube, as well as I think we're going to start doing a little bit of things on Instagram TV. So you guys are going to want to follow us over there. So have a good one.
Hey guys, so a couple nights ago, we launched a special campaign along with Cheryl McCollum from the Cold Case Research Institute called Love Wins. And what this is it is our answer to all the chaos that's kind of going on right now. The chaos from the riots, the chaos from all the different, pandemic, everything that's happening in our lives right now. All the issues with the different lost lives that we've had from before the protesting, after the protesting. So all the lost lives that have come out of this, the lost lives of COVID even. And so #LoveWins is a movement to usher in peace, and knowing that above all, the only way that we're going to get through all of this is loving each other. So what we're actually doing here is we are creating a scholarship fund in remembrance of all the lost lives in 2020 so far, and ushering in peace. And this scholarship fund will go to anyone that wants to go ahead and enter to win. The criteria is really cool. All you have to do is make a 30-second video of yourself and explaining to us how you lead with love. And we are looking for college-age students that are, struggling. Maybe they can't get scholarships. Maybe there's a reason, that they aren't available for them, or it's just not enough for them. And so this is our way of helping out. We're hoping to raise about $5,000. If we raise more than that, then we'll look into giving more than one scholarship away. The way that we're doing this is we have some merchandise. It's #LoveWins merchandise. And there's also Lead with Love merchandise. They've got shirts, cups, mugs, stickers, anything you could possibly want. And we're going to have it on a couple different platforms. Currently, we're doing some on TeePublic, but I'm working on some on Cafe Press too, because they have a lot more variety of merchandise. And so we'll be donating a portion of the proceeds that we collect on this merchandise to the scholarship fund that we are creating. And then we also have a GoFundMe that will be listed in the show notes of our YouTube show and our podcast. And you guys can click on it and you can donate any amount you'd like. And all of the proceeds from that are going to go ahead and go to the scholarship fund. And we'll be showing you exactly how the money is distributed, how it's collected. We're going to be very transparent with this. We're working with some amazing professionals that from like Cheryl from the Cold Case Institute, David Lampley from the Oliphant Institute, the leading death investigator, Joseph Scott Morgan. So we're working with all of them to really show how much love wins over everything and bringing peace to a country that we really need it right now. So that's what we're doing. And we're going to go ahead and play our entries at the top of every podcast and every YouTube until we choose a winner. And our special guests that we have each week, the different people that come on and are here with us, Cheryl and Stephen and Joseph, they'll all be a part of choosing that lucky winner or winners, depending on how much we end up getting donated. So I hope that you guys join us in #LoveWins. And we hope that we get some really great entrants, because we really want to see how you lead with love.
Thanks so much for tuning in and dishing true crime with the Good Wives and Murder by Design. Don't forget to join our Patreon member club to get exclusive mini episodes, inside documents and pictures from the case, live YouTube discussions, our exclusive discussion group on Facebook, and get some amazing Good Wives merchandise.
And follow us on Twitter and Instagram at True Crime Wives. And for more inside information, check out our podcast, The Good Wives Guide to True Crime, on any of your favorite podcast players.
Have a good one from The Good Wives, serving up true crime one dish at a time.